Comedian Dave Smith is one of the more prominent anti-Israel voices on the podcast circuit. Even if you don't know his name, you've likely seen his takes go viral on this very platform. But here's a fact about comic Dave Smith. He doesn't know anything. That's true. Here we go.
Do Palestinians have zero rights? That's what Dave Smith claimed on a recent episode of Joe Rogan's podcast.
They took control of Gaza and the West Bank in 1967. We're going into 60 years of complete Israeli control over these people. And under Israeli control, they have zero rights whatsoever.
Israel fought and won a defensive war in 1967, taking control of Gaza and Sinai from Egypt and the West Bank and eastern Jerusalem from Jordan. Israel expected its neighbors to negotiate the return of territories in exchange for peace. In the words of Defense Minister Moshe Dayan, they were waiting for a telephone call. Instead, 13 Arab nations gathered several months later in Khartoum, where they issued the famous 3 no's. No peace with Israel, no negotiations with Israel, no recognition of Israel. Israel proved it was willing to exchange land for peace when it got the chance, withdrawing from the Sinai in 1982 following a peace treaty with Egypt. The Oslo Accords of the 1990s created the Palestinian Authority and allowed for limited self-rule for the first time in the history of Palestinian Arabs. Today, the majority of Palestinians in the West Bank live under the Palestinian Authority, not under Israeli control. In exchange, PA leaders promised to cease terrorism and resolve outstanding issues in negotiations. On both counts, they failed. The Palestinian Authority rejected offers for a Palestinian state in 2000, 2001, and 2008, preferring statelessness to recognizing the Jewish state and living in peace as neighbors. They also rejected an opportunity to achieve statehood in
Because they simply don't care about sharing land or two-state solutions. They only care about wiping all of the Jews and Israel off the map. That's why they keep rejecting the peace deals. They keep losing the wars. Israel keeps defending itself. People keep running cover for jihadists because they don't want peace. They don't want a two-state solution. They don't care about their civilian population. They want to wipe Israel off the map, simply put.
2014, the leader of the PA, Mahmoud Abbas, was elected to a single 4-year term in 2005 and is still serving out that term 20 years later. As for Gaza, Israel unilaterally withdrew in 2005. There was no occupation and no blockade at that time, and Gazans had the resources to build tourism and agricultural industries and to build an independent state. Instead, they elected Hamas, a terrorist group dedicated to the annihilation of the Jewish state, which has shot tens of thousands of rockets at Israeli civilian communities and launched the current war with its barbaric slaughter of 1,200 men, women, and children on October 7th, 2023. If Dave Smith has a problem with Palestinians' lack of rights, he'd do better to criticize their own leaders. Joe Rogan has one of the biggest platforms on the planet. He's responsible for what he does with it. And he's not shy about pushing back on his guests. Just look at his recent episode with Dr. Zahi Hawass, former Egyptian Minister of Antiquities, whom he pressed at length about controversial claims in archaeology, something in which Hawass has genuine expertise. But when Dave Smith, a comedian, spouts nonsense about Israel and the Palestinians, Rogan lacks either the knowledge or the will to push back. His audience should know what they're getting, and all too often on this subject, it's lies from people who don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, great video. Great video from that account called Camera for Truth. Great video. Simply put, I don't think Dave Smith has been right about one thing in his geopolitical analysis or his political analysis. Certainly was wrong about Thomas Massie. He's wrong about basically everything in regards to Israel. But Joe Rogan keeps giving him a platform. So, God bless that, I guess.